And so just very briefly, welcome. It's great to see so many people attending this seminar or webinar on sustainability and B2B. I'm Morten, and this is James, and I'll give the word straight on to you, James, for the introduction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Morten. Yeah, great. Yeah, welcome to the webinar, and thanks so much for joining us for the next hour. We've got a lot to go through. It's it's a very topical subject, sustainability at the moment. Let me just pick up the clicker here. Okay, is the clicker not working?
Oh, it should after this.
So yeah, as you can see here, this is a Google trend chart, showing the the growing interest in the Sustainable Development Goals, which were launched by the UN about 5 or 6 years ago. So interest in this is rising steadily, and we expect this to continue to rise over the coming years because these goals are targeting 2030. But coming back to this year, we see a recent article by this guy Bernard Marr, who's one of the world's top business influencers, according to LinkedIn. He writes for the World Economic Forum and Forbes, and the number one trend that he talked about in his article at the beginning of the year was about businesses having sustainable operations. We also see we also have the unfortunate situation of war in the Ukraine, and what does that mean for sustainability? Well, in the near term, we've seen a lot of prices increasing of raw materials, energy, and so on, and of course companies and nations need to find alternative sources for those, but there's limited supply. And this should help to drive the demand for renewable energy, and also for secondary materials, so that we're not just using virgin plastics, virgin metals, but actually recovering these from products. And so this war situation could act as a further catalyst for increasing the need to do more with less, and the companies that are able to demonstrate that they can do that will be well positioned. So that's just a few reasons why this is something that is this is an important topic. We're going to go into that a lot more shortly. The agenda for today, we'll just start with a little introduction to ourselves, so you know who we are, and then we will talk about why you should market your sustainability to customers. So we're specifically within a B2B context we're thinking of today, and then we will go into how to do it. What are some of the steps you need to take, and what are some of the key considerations, and then we've just got a little offer at the end. We would have loved to have met you all in person. Perhaps we should do this as an in-person seminar now that COVID restrictions are well behind us, but we all got so used to doing webinars now, and that this is also a very time-efficient way for us to meet. So please pour your own coffee, and let's just stay on mute. We will share the slides at the end, and there will be a recording as well. You can use the chat, and there will be some hopefully a few minutes for Q&A at the end. So just a quick word of introduction to myself before I hand over to Morten to introduce himself. So my name's James. I run a marketing agency focusing on sustainability within B2B. I've been 20 years in B2B marketing, running marketing teams for various different international companies, but also an agency leader for various different big brands here in Denmark and in the UK. I've been a passionate scuba diver, but for as long as I've been in marketing, actually, and unfortunately witnessed the decline of the coral reefs over these 20 years. And a few years ago, I thought to myself, goodness me, is the work that I'm doing the problem, or is it part of the solution? And I decided at that point in 2018 that I would refocus my career and be part of the Copenhagen Business School. Took an MBA with a focus on sustainability, and since then, sustainability has been my big drive, where I want to bring my experience to bear, helping those companies that are trying to be more sustainable, get traction in the marketplace for their sustainability, and get rewarded for it in terms of sales and market share. So that's a little about me, Morten.
Right, thank you very much, James. I'm a co-founder and partner of Blue Business. What we do, we're a lead generation agency working for international clients. We help them grow their pipeline, but we also help them position them in the market. And I think that's what this webinar is about. You're using the positioning and the sustainability to grow your business in a good way. We work with lead generation and with account-based marketing. And when both James and I have been fortunate enough to work for a number of big brands, my personal introduction to sustainability was much later than James. We're happy to do the CSR reporting for Selling Group, which is the biggest retailing group in Denmark and very big player in Poland and in Germany as well. And I realized that what companies can do is actually phenomenal. And that's my way into this sustainability topic. So, but enough about us. Let's talk a little bit about you. So we would like to launch a poll and get your idea on how do you see it? So let's just spend a minute or two. How do you see your sustainability strategy? How important is sustainability to your business? To what degree do you have a strategy and commercialized it? So, and we actually printed out, because we did this webinar on a previous occasion, so it will be interesting to hear your views and compare them. And we have quite a high score. We still have a few answers coming in. We'll give it up until a minute, and then we'll share the results, and we'll also share the results with you afterwards. So if you, now's the time, your last few seconds, and we're ending the poll now. Thanks very much. Let's share the results. So what we're seeing here, James, is that do you have a sustainability strategy? If I compare that to last time, it's actually fewer. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How important is sustainability to your business? It's actually very important, and that's gone up.
Well, that's I think what we can see with the first question there is most people either have a sustainability strategy or they're working on it.
Yeah.
And I guess that sits well with the answer to the second question, that sustainability is important.
Yeah. I know you can also see that to what degree have you commercialized your strategy? There's room for improvement, and I guess that's what this webinar is all about. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll stop sharing and move on. Let me just get this one out of the way. There's one chat. We can see one question here. Let me just check whether there's something. How many are we? I think we are about 30 people who have signed on to the webinar, and I think right now we're about 14.
Didn't it say 23?
Did it say 20? Okay,
23.
I didn't see that. Okay. So let's move on, and just have to activate the clicker. So why market your sustainability to customers? In the following section, I'm going to give you a lot of data, and some of you may know it. If you do and you agree, fine. If you don't, we hope that this data will inspire you and help you move your companies or the organizations in the right direction, and thereby also creating, value not only for yourself but for shareholders and society at large. So we will start with a helicopter perspective, looking at the supply chain, and then we will sort of move towards what are the business criteria. But really the answer to why market your sustainability to customers is that the answer is that the market is moving, and it's moving pretty fast. So if you start with sort of the value chain and how most companies operate, this is an example from a Danish company, Lemvig Møller. And what we are seeing here is that at either end of the value chain, this is where you have the biggest risk and also the biggest impact. And most companies have come to realize that you have to control your entire value chain in order to operate in a sustainable way. That's why we're having organizations like EcoVadis that were founded in 2007, have now certified around 72,000 companies on a global basis. One of our clients, Atea, is also using EcoVadis to help them document how they are operating. So it's a great way to work with sustainability data to get an independent provider like EcoVadis. Talking about data, I don't know whether you know it or not, but there's an organization, a non-profit organization called CDP. They have 150 members. Some of the biggest companies in US and in Europe have joined forces and are trying to impose buying criteria that are bound to sustainability. They have a massive $4 trillion in procurement spending. So the message here is a lot of companies are having sustainability as a part of their purchasing criteria. And it's actually good to know that it's also good for your business. McKinsey is reporting that profit and value creation is up. And as you can see in the following data, a lot of details here, but across all sectors, our companies are expecting to create much more value for the next coming 5 years for the various sustainability initiatives. So you shouldn't do it not only for the society, but also because it's good for business. McKinsey is also reporting that marketing is a key factor in getting the message across. As you're seeing on the first to the left here, you see that the marketing is actually able to understand and listen to the market. Marketing also helps communicating the message of sustainability, and actually you can see that to the right that those companies who go as far as to put their sustainability messages on the packaging of their products, they're actually creating more value. So companies that are working with this are creating more value for their shareholders and for their employees and society if they work with sustainability. And actually, talking about money, it is money that makes the world go around. So we all know that, and the CEO of Unilever is saying we are now spending. I'm now spending more time discussing ESGs than I am with financial results.
ESG being environment, social and governance.
Thanks, James. A Danish company, FL Smith, which have a very complicated value chain, very long value chain. They now have 5 full-time employees just working on reporting on climate data. Just looking at reporting, we've looked at some data on net zero, and you can see that net zero references in corporate reporting is going up. And if you are doing business in Americas, Europe, or Asia, I guess most companies are doing that. It's just another indication that this is on top management agenda. And talking about top management, we now see that 50% of all top UK executives are now having their pay linked to how they're doing with their ESG targets. So starting also from the board, management, and downwards to the organization. And we're seeing many examples. The latest one we saw was that Salesforce we only want to work with suppliers that have that work with sustainability. The Danish insurance company Tryg have said that all suppliers, whether it's IT or it's the cleaners, they have to be able to document. So tons of examples, and let's look at some data as well. So according to Deloitte, 62% of companies have a sustainable procurement policy. 57% of B2B buyers say that sustainability is somewhat or decisively influencing their purchasing decision, and actually also seeing that on a broader text, and this is also something to do with purpose, and you will come back to that, James, that executives are seeing that businesses must be more involved and have a greater impact in just protecting the environment. And actually seeing that 63% of these companies agree that sustainability is an important competitive parameter. But it's also a generational thing. So the generations that are younger than James and I are definitely much more tuned into this topic. But the good news is also that they're influencing the rest of us. So we should be happy that we have a younger generation who's very aware of that. So just summing up, whether you look at your value chain or you look at top management, or you look at the market for capital, or you actually look at when you're trying to sell a product, all the indications that we are seeing is that sustainability is a very important buying criteria, and it's going up. Thank you, James.
Yeah. Thank you, Morten. Yes, and a lot of this is driven by the largest companies. You'll see the largest companies are often the ones who are making these very public commitments and statements about about their environmental targets in particular, and all of those, but because 80% or 90% of the environmental impact of a company takes place outside its own four walls of its own operations. In other words, a big part of it in its supply chain. That's why these demands are being driven down through the supply chain and suppliers, and therefore the B2B companies that are working with these big brands are increasingly expected to contribute to the climate goals and other environmental and social objectives that companies have. So it's not to say that that sustainability is now the number one buying criteria. We're not saying that. It's quality, all of these factors are still there, and they're not going to go away. But this is a new additional criteria that everyone needs to be aware of and to take into consideration. And it's actually a great opportunity to differentiate your brand. And what we see in the data here is that 31% of B2B marketers actually don't feel that their brand has a strong USP or a strong distinct purpose. And on the other side of the table, 70% of B2B customers don't feel engaged with their suppliers. So we have this, often we hear from salespeople, well, we lost the deal, because of price, and that just shows that the customer sees that they have various different companies that they can choose from, all more or less with with an equally performing product, and then they just choose the one where they can get the best commercials. So we need to introduce different reasons to to create a connection with buyers, and of course sustainability is a great opportunity to do that. So if you are working with sustainability, you should be using this lever that you have, and bringing this this message in front of customers. It's also, people want to act responsibly. They don't want to feel that they are making bad decisions for the environment or for society. And therefore, it's a great way to make an emotional connection, especially at the top of the funnel here, and often, subconsciously, when that emotional connection takes place at the top of the funnel, that influences the decision making further down through the sales process, where the more rational arguments about price and performance and quality and so on come in. But your opportunity to, how hard can you go with your sustainability message depends very much on the level of investment that you're making as a company in sustainability. Here we have a chart. If you just look at the bottom half of the chart, it breaks down into more or less 3 areas. In the middle, we've got about half of the companies in this food industry sample here, 48%. Investing the average amount in sustainability. To the left, we've got the companies that are again about a quarter who are investing less than average, and then on the right hand side, another quarter who are investing more than average. So clearly, if you are basis in order to tell a really strong sustainability story, if you're somewhat in the middle, then it's going to be your sustainability story should absolutely be communicated, but it's more going to be a point of it's not going to be necessarily a point of difference. It would be more a point of parity, but you still need to communicate it, because this is what the market is talking about. This is what the market expects, and unfortunately, and then the competitive position of those companies who are investing less in sustainability may well be eroded over time. And what this means is when you start to, this is where you are today. So your competitive advantage is this orange area here, where your strengths are in demand with among your customers, and it's the part that your competitors don't offer. So that's your USP. That's why customers choose you and not your competitors. And if you start to communicate about the sustainability agenda in a way that's relevant to your customers, then you'll find that top left circle moves down towards your customers. And when that happens, well, your competitive advantage after your repositioning, after you start communicating about sustainability, increases. And what that means is that that is strengthening your brand. It's making you more relevant to your customers, more reasons for them to choose you and not your competitors. And where there's a stronger brand, it normally goes hand in hand with achieving higher prices as well. A lot of companies, we saw from the poll, some companies have got a sustainability strategy. They may even have started to do their first sustainability report or two. And a sustainability report is a fabulous document, because it contains contains a huge amount of data from across the business that the company can stand behind and tell a story around. However, this is a document that is perhaps 20, 50, 100 pages sometimes long, and it's not a marketing material. It's designed as a like a financial report. It's more of a document that shows, here's all the stuff that we've been doing over the last year, but it doesn't make the connection directly with a particular buyer of a particular product. So that's the job of marketing, is to weave the sustainability story, find the right story to tell to a particular buyer of a particular product. And not just, don't rely on your sustainability report to do that work for you, because customers and prospects, they're not going to make their way through this very large document in the hope of trying to find the information that they want and need. It has to be served to them. And a sustainability report is also, let's face it, it's quite a dry document, and it's full of facts and figures and numbers and data. And it's not a marketing asset. With a marketing asset, we have much more of an opportunity to create an emotional connection and speak really in a very targeted way to a particular audience. So yes, this is a movement that's growing. In the US, we had the Trump administration, Republican administration, for a few years, and they came out of the UN of the Paris Accord on climate change goals. But now we have Joe Biden, and the Democratic Party has put the US back in the Paris Accord, and he's also made an executive order to make the US government carbon neutral by 2050. And here we have another recent gathering among world leaders on the right hand side. You can argue that maybe the politicians are not acting with as much urgency as many people would like, and that actually perhaps corporations have been acting more swiftly than in many cases than the politicians have, and really taking a leadership role. And as we move towards 2030, where we have the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that's the deadline for those goals. And as we showed you on that first slide with that Google trend, the interest in that here rising and rising and rising. What we're seeing is, and as more companies wake up to understand that sustainability is a significant buying criteria, that the competitive landscape in every product and service category is going to be shaken up, and the status quo will be unsettled. Of course, it's if you are a first mover in many product and service categories, there's still no established company that is seen as the sustainable brand. So if you're a first mover, you are moving into white space. It's much easier for you to claim that space if you act quickly, rather than be a follower and try to oust a competitor that has already got in there. So if this is something that's on your agenda, then best not to hang around and give others the opportunity to take the space that you want. Just back to the big picture. This is Mauricio Graeber. He's the CEO of Christian Hansen, and over the last 5 years, Christian Hansen has been rated as one of the most sustainable companies in the world by Corporate Knights. And you can see in the most recent 22 ranking that they're second in the world. And he sees it as the biggest commercial opportunity ever. He says, the companies that will be the winners of tomorrow are the ones capable of commercializing their innovations to address the global challenges that our world is facing. And in their most recent financial performance numbers from a few weeks ago, they continue to post revenue growth and very healthy profit margin. So this and the benefits that you get. On the other hand, if you don't do it, well, then you're not moving with the market, and you can expect over time, that you will become a less relevant supplier, and that will lead to declining sales, maybe financial difficulties. Could be difficult to attract talent and investment, and put the long-term health of the business at risk. And this is something. It's not just something that I say. When I speak to customers, this is something that is on the minds of many of them. It really is, a repositioning for a new era, and making sure that they are seen as part of the future and not part of the past. This CEO put it very well. I think it might. I'm not sure if it's the guy in the yellow jacket, but he said. So he's the CEO of a foundry company called Better. Our focus had to be a complete green transformation if the company wasn't to end up in the grave within a decade. It's not often you have such a stark statement from a CEO as that in public, but this is the reality for many companies. And it's also an amazing opportunity for marketing. I mean, we're all marketing professionals here, or probably most of us are marketing professionals, and we're all looking for a purpose, or many people that I speak to are looking for a purpose, beyond just helping to make their company more successful and sell more, and so and of course we have the fun of solving those marketing challenges, but to be part of something bigger and more meaningful, that helps the health of the planet, helps the health of society and future generations, is an additional great motivator that helps you to get out of bed and do the work that you want to do. So Morten,
yes,
with
another poll. And I can see we have a lot of chats, messages. We'll just check that after having launched the poll. So if you just. So we're launching this poll now, and so what are the reasons that you want to market sustainability? Is it survival? Is it to improve the competitiveness? Is it, as you've talked a little bit about, James, or are you seeing the demands in the market? That we're very, very curious. Well, please, could you find? It's here actually. And I'm just checking the chat while the. Okay, we have seems like we're having some problems with the sound. And if we have time, we will definitely explain emotional connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We will touch on that again, actually.
All right, we spent a minute. Let's end the poll. And let's see, let's share the results. So 7% are saying survival of the business, 73%, I think that's very encouraging, saying we want to improve our competitive positioning, which is exactly what you talked about. Meeting demands from buyers procurement, that's actually up from 40% to 53%. So it's an indication that the criteria that we've been talking about are coming through, and it was so great to see that you want to have a positive impact on the world. So great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay, so that was the big picture. That was why do it? Why get into this? Why go to the effort? Now we're going to spend a few minutes talking about how to go about it. And And really, if you're going to go through this, go to this effort, then there are really these 5 steps that you're going to start with. Firstly, you're going to have the discussions covering the topics that we've just talked about over the last 20 minutes or so, about agreeing to act. Why, as a business, so the general management, senior leadership team perhaps coming together and everyone agreeing, yes, we should be doing this. We've got consensus. We understand the business motivation. Now let's commit some resources to it. So it's essential to have that that clear mandate from the leadership that this is important. Secondly, then okay, now we start to act on it. So we initiate a project. Someone is put in charge. Perhaps it's the marketing director, and we start to you start to pull together, identify the resources, the timetables, what kind of goals are realistic. Then when you've got that that high level plan together, then the next job is to go ahead and develop the brand strategy. So figuring out, well, what is the message? What content do we need to produce? What channels are we going to execute that content through? Fourthly, then going ahead, making that detailed plan to develop the campaign assets, sales and marketing materials, execute them in the marketplace, and then finally, fifthly, what did we learn? What was the feedback through the sales channels? What was the feedback through customers? What can we see in terms of digital footprint, engagement, and so on? And then looping back round into a replanning cycle. Right, what is going to be the next phase of our communication? What worked? What do we need to try new, and what do we need to tweak? So that's the big picture process that you're going to have to go through. And really, if we're talking about repositioning your brand, or perhaps launching a new brand, a new product brand, for example, and what are the 5 keys to establishing that in the minds of the customer and in the marketplace? Well, firstly, is clarity. Got to start with a really distinct, clear message, simply stated in around a sentence. And what is it that you want customers to know? And at the same time, it's worth considering, does our overall corporate message, does it fit with this sustainability story that we're telling now? It could well be that going through this process is an opportunity to have a look at your overall brand promise, or your overall company purpose, and make sure that all the different messages line up here. And you can also align your message with the Sustainable Development Goals. This is a framework that is very, very widely used in business. It's a very nice little shorthand, so people can understand at a glance, where are you contributing in your sustainability efforts. Second is credibility, and we'll come on to greenwashing in a few minutes, but basically, your message has got to be trustworthy. And that boils down to backing up your claims, and really starting with the data. Instead, often in marketing, we might start with the claim, with the promise that we want to make, and then sort of try and find the arguments, or try and find the reasons that we can back up that claim. And sometimes marketers don't even do that; they just make the claim. But in any case, there's such focus on sustainability and doing it right, and not being accused of greenwashing, that we really need to be clear about the facts that underlie our messages here. And that can be a mix of data, and stories. Stories, of course, these are things that people remember over time. Sort of data, sort of statistics, and so on. For example, you've probably forgotten most of the statistics that we've shown you in the presentation already, but perhaps some of the stories will stick in your mind. So making sure that we've got both of those angles covered here. And sustainability, it needs to be a real action, addressing the real issues that that you have within your operations and in your value chain, not sort of some fluffy words or some charitable donations. We've moved beyond that point now. So of course the overall point is you've got to enhance your reputation, not put it at risk. Competitiveness. So this is the third C. This is two elements. Firstly, you've got to make sure that you're offering your message to the market is differentiated from your competitors, but also appealing to your customers. And when you start to go down this sustainability road, sometimes a new target audience is open to you that hasn't been opened to you in the past. In fact, we've got a little case where we explain that in more detail. Because sustainability is valued by different companies, more or less at different times. But we need to, understand who is that target market. Are they millennials, Gen X? What are their values and sustainability issues? And it's not about how wonderful we are. Look at all the amazing sustainability stuff we're doing. We need to just really be relevant and go into their world and go with the few small, most pertinent facts and figures and weave it together into a story that that really sets us apart and gets us on their agenda. Creativity. So creativity comes through often through understanding who your customers are and going into their world, understanding their own emotional where they are on the sustainability agenda, and it just enables you to cut through the through the noise, through all the other sort of emails and ads and so on that companies of course bombard their customers and prospects with. And we got a little bit of we got an example in a case where we can talk a bit more about that. And then finally consistency, because this is consistency over time, because it's over time, but also across the buying journey and across channels. Over time, because you can't create an image in the marketplace of being sustainable after a few weeks or of communication. This is an ongoing communication that needs to take place, and it needs to be consistent across channels and consistent through the customer life cycle. There's just a few little examples here of greenwashing, or at least companies that have been accused of greenwashing, and in response to this over the last couple of years, there's been actually a big increase in the amount of updating of sustainability marketing guidelines. It's happened in Denmark. It's happened in the UK. The US has said that it's going to update its guidelines this year as well, and there's various different EU guidelines as well. Firstly, impacting the financial market quite significantly. But even though these regulations are a little bit different, and you're probably working for an organization that is quite international, there are some key themes that we can use in order to stay on side and make sure that we're not greenwashing. And the first thing is to ensure that you can document the claims, and that documentation that you have actually needs to be available to customers. So if you've got some claims on a landing page, for example, then you need to have one click away. Let's say downloading a document which explains, which provides the data that can back up these claims if they can't be provided in a neat way on the page itself. Avoiding exaggeration, so not not making more out of a small feature, a little plastic thing that, okay, now it's made out of recycled plastic, where but still that's just 1% of the entire sort of overall environmental footprint. So you can't do a massive campaign about that little thing. It's just that you will be accused of greenwashing. Using imprecise or general terms. So if you say our product is sustainable, ethical, green, something like that, basically you can't say that, because you won't be able to have the data to be able to document that. Sustainability is such a broad term, encompassing social issues, environmental issues, ethical issues, biodiversity, all kinds of stuff. And so to say, so you need to be much more narrow in your claims, and more focused and targeted. Your figures need to be up to date. When you're using a certificate, explain what it means. You can't assume that the customers know what it means. You need to just say in a sentence, what are we talking about here? Don't create your own certification if there's already a similar one. This just creates confusion in the marketplace. You use the certificates that already exist. And your marketing needs to be in proportion to the effort you're making. I think we've touched on that. Don't hide important information. So, for example, if you're saying your product is biodegradable, then you also need to say if that is only under specific circumstances. For example, with professional disposal or whatever that might be. And if you're using claims made by your suppliers, sustainability claims, you're responsible for verifying their accuracy. So you need to be able to stand by those data as if they are your own. Right, Morden, we have a little case here.
Yeah, we do. Thanks very much, James. And then in the previous slides, we referenced a number of large organizations, large companies, and also these big purchasing organizations. So we thought, in case some of you are sitting there saying, well, this is only for large companies, we've actually taken a case from a small family-owned printing company, KLS PurePrint. And any of you who knows about the printing industry knows that it's an industry that's very challenged. We now live in a digital world, so how many of us are still printing brochures? And so this company is operating in a sharply declining market, and they decided in the family that they really wanted to refocus the company and had the vision of being the world's most sustainable printing company. And it's really interesting to see how what they did actually was they went to companies that at that time were maybe more focused and more conscious on environmental issues, and acquired those companies as clients. And then they started expanding from that client base towards bigger corporations. So they have actually seen an increase in the market, and this is in a market where simply a lot of their competitors are disappearing. So the message here from this small case is that if you want to do it, you can do it. You have to work with it, but it is actually the biggest commercial opportunity, as you were referencing, Maurice, Robert, so early on. So it goes for all of us. There's no excuse. It's actually good for business, as we talked about early on. So another case, James.
Right. Well, yes.
A bigger company. Yeah.
Yeah. So from a smaller company to a very big company, and Amphenol is a multi-billion, I think, $10 billion annual revenue American group, working in with communications equipment, and so this case is about how they generated a sales pipeline for their upcycled antennas. And so they're selling. They manufacture. So the business unit that we were working with was manufacturing antennas for mobile operators, such as the ones going up on the tower that you can see on the right there. And they found that they had these big competitors coming in and putting a lot of pressure on the market, and making it more difficult to compete. And they came up with this new innovation called Integra. So it's a new antenna concept, and you can see that it's a modular design. And so what that means is that it can be taken down from the tower and actually the modules updated. Instead of throwing out the entire antenna, you just update the parts which need to be updated. And that comes with a significant reduction in the carbon footprint. So, and then when we spoke with the RAN managers, the RAN managers, these were these are the key decision maker. They are the priority target audience, responsible for keeping antennas up to date at the mobile networks. And making sure that those antennas support the network needs, and those network needs actually advance more or less constantly, constant progress and increases in customer demands and expectations. And what that means is that actually across the industry, thousands of perfectly functioning antennas get scrapped every year. So these things, the normal antennas, they just get put up, and then perhaps 3 years later they get taken down and they're scrapped. And these RAN managers actually feel bad about this waste. So speaking to that point about the sort of making an emotional connection. So they feel bad about that waste, but they see it as unavoidable. In order for our company to be competitive, we need to keep updating our antenna network, and therefore we just have to close our eyes every 3 years and scrap these antennas. But at the same time, most of the mobile network operators have actually made significant commitments to reducing their carbon footprint. So we knew, okay, there's an opportunity for us for this product here. How are we going to get the message out to them? What should that message be? So that was it played before I was expecting it to play, but yeah, so that was the message that we put together just in a short little animation there. And how do we advance? Thanks, Morgan. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're showing the RAN manager, we're making them the hero. We're not. Of course, we have an amazing product, but we're putting them in the driving seat. We're making them the hero. We're tapping into that knowledge that they know that they would really rather not scrap these antennas, and they feel bad about it. And now we're giving them the opportunity to make a different decision, whereas before they felt that they didn't have an opportunity. So, whereas right now, many, network evolution is creating these huge piles of waste, and that waste is contributing to climate change. And we've all hear about this in the media. And then we used a little bit of social proof here. This is one of the slides from their presentation, where we're showing here are all the mobile network operators that are committing themselves to making a change on the climate. Therefore, if you start to make a different decision about your antennas, then you're not alone. So we wanted it to make it feel like a safe decision. And so therefore we're introducing the world's first upgradable antenna, but also reassuring the RAN manager that that they still get the latest technology, even though this is an upcycled product. They still get the reassurance of a 2-year warranty. Everything is fully tested and certified. So there's no difference in quality. It's the same high quality that they're used to. And what's more, there's no additional charge either. So they get the value of being able to reduce their carbon footprint by 50% without any cost. So yeah, putting them in control. So then that in terms of consistency, they jointly with them developed all these assets to be used across different channels, and the results so far. So the campaign materials were met with very good internal adoption and feedback. Very quickly started making good impression on LinkedIn. And Morten was saying no one sends brochures these days, but actually thinking out of the box, Amphenol did exactly that and landed brochures on target contacts desks, which enabled sales follow-up. And now they have several opportunities amongst Europe's largest mobile operators, and they're going through the process of being adopted as suppliers. So yeah, that's it. That was another little case about a company that has done it.
So last poll, and we are also close to the end of the webinar. So let's just launch this and let's hear, what are your top challenges with marketing sustainability, which we've been talking about for the last hour? Is it getting commitment from the organization, which James talked about? Is it getting the brand message right, or content? Is it planning and implementing or measuring impact? We can see you are very active, and while you're doing that, I will just check the chat. Hi, interesting question. Do you know that? Did you get any pushback on the production of the brochures, James?
I haven't heard of any. It's a good question. I haven't heard of any.
No, but we have certainly, there's some ways to, if you are producing brochures, work with a printing company like KLS, or make sure that the paper is certified and what have you. So we have. Let's just prepare look at the response here. So I think we will end the poll here and share it. If I can find my mouse, which I can't, there we go. So let's just share the results. What are the biggest challenges here? Measuring impact. That's interesting in a digital world that we are working with. Could be interesting to do a test on that one. How does it compare to? It's actually gone up quite remarkably. Getting commitment from the organization is also on the increase, so it was maybe a little bit surprising. But thanks very much. We will stop sharing, and we will be sharing these results with you in the slides when we send them to you. So James, the last run.
Last words.
Last famous words. We have actually 1 minute. Let me just get this one to you.
So the So the last thing we just wanted to say was that that if you found this interesting and this is something that you want to start working with, or you need some input into how can we market ourselves in terms of sustainability, then by all means send us an email. We can have a discovery session together where we start to identify the potential that you have. So just drop us a message, drop us an email with the word discovery, and then we can go ahead and fix that up.
And now, also out of respect of time, we know there were some questions in the chat that we didn't address. Send us an email, and we will respond. So thanks very much. Have a great day, and we're closing down from now.
Thank you.